Welcome to If Worlds Collide, the game where a plague knight of St. Lazarus can duke it out with a Roman centurion. The game where Santa's elves can get into a shootout with banana cultists and literal demons. Sounds interesting? Do you want to know more? Well, you've come to the right place. Now sit back as I tell you all about the skirmish game where the only limit is your imagination. But don't just take my word for it. For in this video, I will be listing off several established factions from multiple categories of creativity, including proxies, fantasy, sci-fi, history, and just plain old insanity. First off, we have the proxy factions. These are legally distinct versions of factions from already established franchises, most famous of all being every single major and minor faction you can think of in the 40k universe. These serve as a sort of familiar introduction for potential new players, and have no relation to established canon, nor do we have any intention to profit off of them, so please do not sue us, GW. Okay, now that that is out of the way, let us continue on to the next category, fantasy. These are the factions whose world building can be grounded in what we normally know as high and low fantasy, including but not limited to fantastical races and the use of magic. Some examples include the Toyori Shogunate, though another example that's certainly a thing is the Magical Matthews. Think an order of wizards that are also gym bros. Yes, there's certainly something. Okay. Okay, on to the next category. Let's see what we have next. Aha! Science fiction. Some more grounded examples include the Walker Militias, veterans of the Third World War who retired to farming but were able to keep their old battle mechs, and Anya's Commonwealth, a post-apocalyptic society of raiders and warriors. And other examples include the Cyberwolves of Teteroth, the Order of the Broken Mirror, and the Sentinels of the End. But moving on, we have our next category, history. This is pretty much self-explanatory, as almost any faction and army from history is safe to bring to the battlefields of the colliding worlds. I say almost because there are certain examples which should not be taken in for obvious reasons. Looking at you, Austrian painter, as well as Georgian no-no mustache man. But some examples of established historical factions include the Ottomans, Finland, from World War II that is, the Karelians of Sweden, the Comanche, the Continental Army, the Samurai of the Sengoku Jidai, plus the Samurai Rebels of Shiroyama, and one of my personal favorites, the Order of St. Lazarus. Now, I could spend all day listing off all the factions in the ever-growing list that you can play as. But I hear you wondering, how can one play these factions on the tabletop? Well, my first answer to you is online spaces. Tabletop Simulator is always an effective choice, but that costs money, something many of you might not have, especially in this economy. So a free space frequently used by the community is Owlbear Rodeo, though it is 2D, so you will have to discuss the heights and whatnot of terrain accordingly. However, a lot of you will want to be playing this on a physical tabletop, which, fair enough. So allow me to list off several sources for cheap minis that you can use. First off, mind you, this would be most effective for the Pet Rock Militia. You can just grab some rocks from anywhere outdoors and just wash them. Now you have a full roster, free of charge. But never mind that. There are other ways through which to get more detailed pieces where you don't have to spend a fortune on GW's plastic crack. Though you can always get that for cheaper on places like eBay. But, however, some examples include your old Army Men toys. I ended up designing a faction specifically so you can make use of that, called the Toy Legions. But other stores include Atlantic Wargames and Vitrix Miniatures. At least, I think it's pronounced Vitrix. Regardless, everything will be posted in the description. And their minis are a lot cheaper than Games Workshop. For example, a set of British Peninsula Infantry costs only $34. This is US dollars for reference. Now, this is 52 separate individual miniatures for half the price of a single Cadian squad. And this is last I had checked the price. GW has probably jacked it up by now. Okay, enough of my feelings towards GW. Now, further sources include the Kindred of the Abyss, designed by Tabletop Time. These are particularly effective as proxy miniatures for the Hard Dark Stalkers. And old WizKid miniatures and various other D&D minis, which you can find at Noble Knight Games, and could work for the Adventurers Guild. I'm terribly sorry if I'm confusing you there. Like I said, all relevant information will be posted in the description below. Now, did I miss anything? Nope, that should cover it. However, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. I will always take the time to answer you, provided my schedule allows it. Regardless, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.